SSG Sport and Activities Department Staff Orientation. Welcome to Stage 3 of your SSG Activities Department Orientation. This will look at job role induction and specific requirements for the several job roles that we have available. Roles and responsibilities. The following slide will look at some of the central policies that we have in place company-wide at SSG. These policies you need to be aware of and know that they exist, as they are a central point for all the provision that we deliver across SSG. A lot of the training that you undertake at SSG will link specifically to one, several, or in some cases, all of these policies. Safeguarding focuses on keeping people safe on our provision, whether that be staff, participants, or anybody involved. Health and safety is obviously a really vital factor and is something that we must think about when we're delivering. Inclusion and SEND ensures that all of our activities and programs that we are delivering are accessible to everybody. You can find these central policies on your People HR, and you can speak to your relevant project manager or managers to know more about these. This slide looks at the specific job roles that we have available at SSG. There are specific levels to that, which are leaders, advanced leaders, and team leaders. As a leader, there are 6 core areas that you'll be trained in, which are safety, organisation, communication, motivation, inclusion, and teamwork. When delivering a session, you will need to take all these factors into consideration. And as an advanced leader, there are some additional ones that you need to think about too, which are controlling, also known as behaviour management, planning, so looking at what is required out of the session, and also assessments, so looking at the child's progression. This doesn't happen in every case, but as an advanced leader, you will need to assess at different times. As a team leader, again, you'll still need to think about those 6 core areas, those additional 3 as an advanced leader, but there's also an additional layer that you need to be thinking about, which are customer coordination, so parents, tasters, and anyone that's accessing the provision that you're running, team coordination, so in charge of that staffing team, and also project coordination as a whole, so ensuring that that project is running as successfully as possible on that day that you are the team leader. This slide looks at job role levels and the different projects that we run. So it looks at where the roles fit into each project. As you can see, we run the following projects, which are swim schools, gymnastics academy, school sport and PE, fun for all active care, holiday club active care, and adventure and challenge events. As you can see, most roles are all available on the different programs that we run, other than the school sports, because this is something where you would be delivering independently and it wouldn't be a staffing team. Payments for shifts. Levels, projects, and pay rates. So what you can see in front of you is a payment guide that shows what we pay for each role on each different provision that we run. As you can see, the leader role across each provision is based on ages. And as you move up through to an advanced leader and a team lead, the payment is very much based on the different opportunities that you get through training and the skill set that you have as that staff member. There are opportunities to progress up and across through each different role as well. And as you can see, a progression through each role shows a progression in pay. The role that you are taking on will also be reflected on your RotaCloud timetable system, so you'll be able to see what role you are going to be working at. Details and dates. So all of the shifts that you work are going to be added to the RotaCloud timetabling system. That will have all of the information of your shift, so where you need to be. If it's at a school, what school is it at? If it is a swim school, which swim school is it going to be that? It will say your arrival time, it will say your start and end time, it will say how much you're being paid for, and have any additional information on there. So it's a really, really important tool that you need to keep check of. Check it's up to date and check that every shift that you have worked and are going to be working is on that RotaCloud system, which is very specific to you, and it will just have all of your timetabling, all of your shifts on. You are paid on the 26th of each month, and the cut-off date is the 15th of each month. This means that you are going to be paid from the 16th of the previous month to the 15th of the next month. So that whole month, you will then be paid on the 26th. If any shifts aren't on your RotaCloud timetabling system, then you will not be paid for them. So again, very, very important that you're checking that. Deployment into shifts. Project deployment and timetables. So there are currently 6 different opportunities and ways that you can come and be involved within SSG activities. Now they are through our swim schools, gymnastics academy, adventure and experience days, They are also through our sport and PE, our holiday camps active care, and our Fun for All active care too. Before you are able to have a paid shift on any of these, you must go through what is called a project progression pathway. This is gateway training that involves two different things. One of them is a practical experience on that program and provision, and the other is an understanding and knowledge assessment. Once you've completed both of these and are successful, that is going to be able to unlock the ability for you to work on that project, and you are going to be able to be added to the Rotocloud timetabling system within that project. And here's a reminder of those 6 areas that you can access your gateway into. So you can do it through swim schools, gym academy, school sport, Fun for All active care, holiday club active care, adventure and challenge events. And again, you can come in at different levels as a leader, advanced leader, or a team leader. As I mentioned previously, it is looking at your experience, your skill set, your knowledge, your confidence, along with some other aspects as well. There are 2 types of shifts that you're able to pick up when you're working with us at SSG Activities, and that's through flexi projects or fixed projects. Flexi projects are very much independent shifts that you do not have to commit to on a regular basis. They're very much based on your availability, and you're able to pick 1 or 2 of those up, maybe through a seasonal period, through a school holiday period, but it's not something that you have to commit to every single week. Of course, once you have committed to the shift, you are expected to work it, but we're not expecting you to, for example, to work every Saturday on that shift. This very much relates to our adventure and challenge events and active care school holidays, because again, they're only seasonal and they only run at certain periods of time. Flexi projects also relate to ad hoc and cover shifts. So if you were looking to cover somebody, again, you're not expected to work every single week. It would just be a one-off shift that you're taking on. We then have the opposite of that, which are fixed projects. So these are contracts that you are given, and you are given the same shift on a weekly basis. That's because we must have the same staffing team to regularly carry out the work. And that are through our gymnastics academy, active care fun for all, swim schools, and sport and PE. So those same staff members take on the same shift every week. So example, you might be a leader at a swim school every single Thursday from 4:30 till 7:30. You are expected to work that shift every Thursday unless you are needing cover or you have a holiday booked. Applying for shifts. So when a shift becomes available, they usually advertise internally via WhatsApp and email. This is usually through the project manager of that specific program provision. These are usually sent through WhatsApp through some of the different groups that we have. So we have specific project WhatsApp groups. We also have a specific staff whole SSG Activities WhatsApp group, and you also may be spoken to individually and privately by your project manager, as they are aware of those that are able to take on those shifts, depending on if they've been unlocked successfully through the project training gateway. If you are successful and you are going to take on that shift, and that might be through cover, covering somebody who can't do their shift, that might be taking on it more permanently, that will then get allocated to your Rotocloud as long as you are able to take on that shift, and then you'll be able to be paid for that shift. Shift, deployment support and policy. Role support and development. So once you're in role, there's support and development that's ongoing, and your project manager, alongside other management team, and potentially some of your team leaders as well, will provide you as much support as possible. This slide just provides a little bit of an outlook on what support you are going to get, who you might get it from. So as explained, one of the first supports you'll get when you're going into a role or taking on a certain provision is the project progression pathway. So that training with the knowledge and understanding quiz and the practical experience too. You'll also have your project managers that are able to give you as much support as you possibly need, whether that is through working with you whilst you're on program and on delivery, providing you with plans, providing you with any information that you might possibly need. Those project managers will also take part on project visits, whether it's just for a supportive role, whether it's through taking on some observations to feedback, giving you some constructive criticism, areas for improvement, and also championing what it is that you've done fantastically as that staff member. Your team leaders on the ground will also provide as much support as they can. Team leaders work very closely with the project managers and are able to feed in where possible, where they think any improvements need to be made. Any questions, any queries that you have on that day, team leaders are there to support you and ensure that that provision is running well, and ensure that you have as much confidence and as much support as you feel is necessary. You've also got those three levels that we've spoken about: leader, advanced leader, and team leader. And obviously, there's lots of training for you to be able to move up and across during those roles. Personal development plans and pathways. So, being able to work with you one to one as a staff member or as a staffing team. We hold regular meetings, quality update and development meetings, and there's lots of training both internally and externally that you can take on. And we try to provide our staff with as much as that as possible to ensure that, one, as I mentioned, that we are championing the staff and how well they're doing. We look at any areas for improvement in staff members, in project managers, in team leaders, and in the provision overall as well. Central communication. Staff support is the central hub company-wide for communication, coordination, and administration. Any queries that you have in relation to that staffing team that you can see in front of you, so any of those headlines such as payment queries, delivery needs, session deployment, your rota cloud, time off request, uniform, anything like that that relates to you as staff, those queries need to go into staff.support@ssgservices.co.uk. You'll then receive a reply within 24 to 48 hours where any support can be provided for you. It's worth noting that factors such as sickness or any immediate comms that you need to have with your manager, if there was a program you were working on that day, for example, and you needed information, that's where you would need to speak to the project manager or the DDS on the day rather than the staff support hub. As you can also see, staff support is a central hub for HR and workforce development, and all the headlines that you can see above those titles there, customer support function, and also operational delivery management too. Project management. The project manager has been mentioned a lot during this orientation process. So the next couple of slides just give a little bit more detail on what their role is and the part they play in the department. So we have our head of service, so the head of department that the three project managers are working for and working closely with, which is Emily Woolbank. She's our head of service. We then have Sam Harrison, who is the project manager for all of our adventure and challenge events, and that ties into this, the Adventure at the Manor event, and also our Air Inflatable Fun Arena. As a project manager, you are responsible for different aspects of it, including the staffing teams, venue and environment, equipment and resources, planning and assessment. Project managers, that whole provision, that whole project is what they are going to be in charge of and ensuring that it runs really smoothly. We then have another project manager who is Adam Lewis, and he is the project manager for the sport and PE for active care, evening, weekend, and school holiday clubs. We then have Chloe Watson, who is the project manager for Gymnastics Academy and our Fish to Water swim schools. Live Duty Delivery Supervisor, also known as the DDS. So each day we have a live duty delivery manager who's responsible for the project and the staff on that specific day. Staff are notified who this is via the morning WhatsApp group. So the DDS will send out a message letting everybody know who's working that day, what provision we have that day. So although the project manager of each provision is in charge of the overall long-term running of that, it is down to the DDS, the duty delivery supervisor, to oversee that project just for that day, just to ensure that if there's any short-term things like staff cover, sickness, illness, any problems that have occurred during that day, they are the first person that reacts to that. As you can see, the two project managers that are in charge of being DDS are Adam Lewis and Chloe Watson. You can see all their contact details on there. Just worth noting that Sam Harrison, who is the Adventure and Challenge Events project manager, doesn't have this role as a DDS. Time off and shift cover. Holidays and events. So we track planned and unplanned time off to monitor attendance within fixed shifts. It's important that staff attendance doesn't drop too low, as the children and participants require consistent members of staff who know them and who can provide them with progression and consistent delivery standards. As you can see in front of you, you can see the holiday and event time off process. So identify the date or dates that you need to plan time off from. You then need to submit that time off using the People HR tool. You then need to speak to authorized colleagues to arrange cover, and then that's going to go through to your project managers, who will then authorize or unauthorize that absence. We do ask that for a minimum of 3 weeks. So if you need that time off, you need to do it. You need to submit that at least 3 weeks before. Where possible, please just let us know. And the more time that you give us in advance, is the easier we're going to be able to find it to cover. And it, in more often than not, should be authorised. We do, however, reserve the right to say no to requests if it will have an adverse effect on the project. So, for example, if there's already a staff member or more than one staff member off that has time off during that time that you would like it off, we can say no to that, unfortunately. So the previous slide covered the planned absences and planned time off. This slide is going to have a look at unplanned time off and sickness. Of course, sickness and unplanned time off occasionally cannot be helped. So we also have a process for that, just to ensure that we're able to support yourselves and also the children on provision as well, so that we don't have to change too much. So again, in front of you, you can see the process for that. So if you are unwell the day before your shift, so if you know that you're ill and you know that you're not going to be able to make your shift, or there's potential that you won't be able to attend it, please do speak to that project manager and the DDS of that day. Call in good time, just to give them a little bit of chance to be able to cover that if necessary. We can also put people on standby if you do call and say, I'm not feeling very well today, I'm not sure how I'll be tomorrow. That just means we are all in the same loop, and we find it a little bit more easy to be able to find cover and have a little bit more time for that. If you do feel unwell and you are definitely not able to work on your shift on the morning of that shift, you need to make sure that you call the live duty manager, so that DDS that I was talking about in previous slides, by 8 a.m. Or at least a few hours before your provision. So if you are already due to start at 8 a.m., obviously, of course, we don't want you to call them. We would need you to call earlier than that. And the project managers know that and are happy to accept and take those calls. Uniform and professional standards. So before you come and start your first paid shift with us on any program, you'll be issued with uniform that you are going to need. Uniform may differ depending on the different type of provision that you are working on. For example, if you are a sport and PE leader or advanced leader, then you are going to need some different uniform compared to if you are in the swimming pool in one of our fish to water swim schools. Again, you will be given a certain base layer, and then we will also look at if there's any additional uniform that you need. As you can see in the slide in front of you, here's just some examples of what you might need. So we have a pink swimming top. If you are getting in the pool, for example, if you're taking on any shifts on some of our other programs, you'll be given a tech tee, mid layer, SSG sorts. Again, that just all depends on where you are. So again, if you're outside in the winter, you're probably going to be issued some more uniform than just a shorts and a t-shirt and a mid layer. But again, that will differ depending on where you are, how many days you're working, and where you're working as well. So again, looking at those professional standards, it's really important that we do not see any of the things that you can see on your screen on any provision. So we don't expect to be seeing energy or fizzy drinks on provisions, no chewing gum, no jewellery, and of course it goes without saying, particularly for safeguarding reasons, that your mobile phone should not be on your person at any time during your provision. Phones must be away in bags or with the TL at the front desk or wherever they should be, but you definitely should not have them for any reason at all. So congratulations, you are now able to be deployed onto provision. Your next steps are that you need to sign off on People HR that you've completed all 3 stages of your orientation, and you will have a project manager in contact with you very, very soon. If you have any questions on anything that you have just listened to or anything in regards to sport and activities department as a whole, please do email in staff.support@ssgservices.co.uk, or please get in contact with the relevant manager you have been speaking to.